All right, the offseason continues. SNL here. We're going to focus on the offense as we look back at free agency. We also look at the new body that was added. And I just say body. That's all I'm calling it. Maybe Cody thinks a little bit more highly of him. Then I will also take a look at the popular trend on offense for the Texans, what to expect from each of those guys, as well as a couple of other trends and a fan favorite finds a new home. I might be being trite. Cody Stoots, Landry Locker with you. We'll also be with you at Spanky's Friday the 27th. It was a packed house last time as we put a bow on free agency. This is less than a month away from the draft at Spanky's. 2 Fridays from now, we want to see you there. Come by, say hi, enjoy the off season. And shout out to all the people that enjoyed the off season with us there last week. Fun times.
Yeah, we had a big showing at Spanky's, and Texans kept at it over the weekend, adding an offensive lineman, and we'll talk about all that and so much more throughout the course of the day.
All right, let's talk about this offensive lineman. The Texans add an offensive lineman. Tell me everything you know about the young man from Southlake who has played on about 20% of the teams in the NFL, and he's played 2 positions.
He hadn't played on 20% of the teams, but he's played on a few teams. That's for sure.
How many teams has he played on?
He has played on 6 teams.
Okay. So there's how many teams in the NFL?
There's 32 teams.
Okay. So 6 is how many percentage of 32? I said about 20%.
I don't know the math off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's close to 20%. But as you were.
Yeah, it's not 20%, but
it's very close.
Yeah, it's not though, but
it's very close.
Anyway, here's Evan Brown. He's added to the team, $3.5 million, which is certainly up to $3.5 million, which is certainly not a guarantee to be on the roster, but he's played on a bunch of teams. He was an undrafted free agent out of SMU that just really hung around until he got a chance to play a little bit, and initially played guard, then played center for the Lions and the Seahawks, and then played left guard for the past 2 seasons for the Arizona Cardinals. He's a fine player. There's nothing awesome about his history. There's nothing, horribly terrible about his history. He's a better player than I would think Jared Patterson right now, but certainly it's not going to surprise me if Patterson shows up with knowledge of this system and looks better than Brown. But he's a veteran who's been around the block, who's played a couple different spots. I'm trying to figure out if he's here to compete with Patterson and a rookie at left guard, or if he's here to push Jake Andrews at center.
Yes, I think it's a triple threat dark match. Like it's not a main event. It doesn't make the main card. This is a triple threat dark match. And I immediately kind of saw on the timeline, people saying, well, this means the end of Jared Patterson. Well, the fuck it doesn't. Like I know that Jared Patterson is due, and they set up the contract to where he's due, I think $3.5 million or whatever. However they laid it out. I think it's 2.73, whatever it is with Jared Patterson. But if this guy doesn't outplay Jared Patterson, they're not just gonna. It's about the same. It's about the same price range. So they know what Jared Patterson is. Nick Caserio has said he's a 5th or 6th offensive lineman, and we'll see how those two compete. But they do not feel comfortable enough about this guy to just say goodbye to Jared Patterson. And I also do wonder, like, what does it look like with him and Jake Andrews? Because if you have a guy who can also play guard and center, and he plays close to the same level as Jake Andrews, there's that. So I think it's kind of a 3-way thing. Would it be the craziest thing for him to force Jared Patterson out? Not necessarily, but I wouldn't say this means the end of Jared Patterson, especially when you consider their money is about the same.
I would think there's, if you had to, there's room for both of them. Patterson could be the backup center. Brown's your backup guard, and somebody's going to have to learn to be the backup right guard. Brown's played it a little bit in his history. Patterson's played it a tiny bit, but for the most part, both of them had played center and left guard when they have played guard. So somebody's going to have to be the backup at right guard if Ed Ingram can't go. And so there's room for both of them. If nobody who's a young guy impresses you, obviously one of them is going to lose their job if you draft a guard high, which Evan Brown and Jared Patterson are both at the level of player that a talented rookie should be able to beat them out and start right away for the Texans.
Yeah, it's not like a big major thing. It's just a body. They haven't found a left guard. They don't need a left guard any less. than they did before the pick, but they had a body, and it's interesting. You look at the in between. He just kind of fits in with the uncertainty that they have. But I guess more is better than less, and we'll see what he looks like.
It's interesting because he's nowhere near the level of player Elton Jenkins, the former Packer who got signed by the Browns. He's nowhere near the level of player Elton Jenkins is. The Texans reportedly checked in on Elton Jenkins, and then they end up with Evan Brown, who got cut with 1 year left on his deal from the Cardinals, and they replaced him with one of the more expensive left guards in free agency, in Isaac Seumalo. So they felt pretty good about moving on from him and feeling like they could upgrade. And now this guy, the old Casario, if we had to play a game tomorrow, he might be the starting left guard. Again, he's a hopeful fodder because hopefully Patterson's better than him, hopefully a rookie's better than him, and hopefully Evan Brown's on a different team. And you don't really want to be starting Evan Brown.
Yeah, you definitely have to see what he can do. Like it's 100%. You have to see what he can do in camp. He is fighting for a job. This is
I do feel like there's a somewhat decent chance that he's here to fight Andrews as much as he's here to fight a rookie or Patterson. I think there's like a pretty decent chance of that. And he's there to push Jake Andrews, and I believe Jake Andrews could probably outlast him and keep his spot. So, if Patterson's entrenched as that key backup, maybe a rookie at left guard and Andrews beats out Brown for the center spot, or maybe people will be happy to see Brown take over the center spot from Andrews.
Yeah, I mean,
whoever plays better should be the center.
Yeah, and that's really the thing. Like, I think there's a chance that a month and a half from now, we look at this and say, man, Jared Patterson doesn't really fit into this mix. I think it's possible. And we could maybe even say that about Brown too. It's possible. But I'm hard pressed to believe a guy with the track record, and Kyle Nance brings it up on the chat. I think he's looking at some of the numbers that we saw across our eyes.
Swarm.
He says Brown's one of the worst run blocking linemen in the league. I'm out on him even as depth. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But it would be really, really, really bizarre for the Texans to take this player. Now, if they took some of the guards that we were talking about, like if they sign Wyatt Teller tomorrow, it's okay. Well, yeah, you might not need Jared Patterson, but it would be really interesting for me to take a guy that they trusted to play. They've trusted to play center last year, and they trusted to start at guard as one of their best five, and say, all right, bye-bye. We're going to bring this guy in and see how that fits. He's going to have to fight his ass off. He's going to have a really good camp.
Yeah, Evan Brown by no means is guaranteed to be on this team, and by no means is he for sure better than Patterson, a rookie at left guard, or Andrews at center. So let's see what he's got. Maybe a change of scenery, a new system, and he does a little bit better. But I'll say this, if you remember the name, so Brown played center in Seattle before he got to Arizona. He got to Arizona and they moved him to left guard. He never even played center because they had a converted guard play center in Haji Froholt. You remember that name? He was on the Texans for like a hot second. And he's bad at center. So they had a bad offensive line in Arizona. It's not like you added some awesome player. They stunk. They couldn't block on the interior. Brown was a part of it. He's got to be better or he's not making the team.
Swarm.
On the chat, Mike Banks says, do you think this sets them up to draft a DT in the first round? I'm hoping, or left guard. I think those are two spots that you look at. I think there's a lot of flexibility and possibility, especially when you factor in that they're drafting 28 and 38. I think that expands the possibility even more so than if you had traditional picks. You were drafting fifth to last in the second round in there. Maybe you can lean more need, but I think when you have two picks within 10 spots, especially in those areas, which we think there could be some really intriguing options. I don't think I lean either way. And I think they were lean. I think left guard made sense as well as DT there before this. And I think it makes just as much sense after.
Yeah. Brown's addition did nothing to change my desire for them to draft a guard. And I don't want to assume, but I will say two guards were off the board by 18 last year. And I know that the O-line class was thought of maybe a little bit higher than this one from a guard standpoint. 2 guards were off the board by 18, 3 were off by 24. So I'm not automatically assuming a guard that you really like is going to be available at 28. I do feel strongly that a defensive tackle that's going to be worth it is going to be there at 28, especially if some guards come off the board. So it is interesting because, like, whichever position you want, you kind of want the other position to go higher and push that guy down. So, but if I was telling you the first 2 picks, guard DT or DT guard, I'm fine with either of those.
Yeah, right now it feels like Ione is going to be gone, right? I mean, it feels like Vega Ione gone.
Venga Ioane from Penn State.
Ioane, okay. I sounded very white saying that. I promise if he's a Texan, I'll get it right. Ioane, I-O-N-E, Ioane. Okay. Feels like he's going to be gone. It feels like Pregnon's going to be there. He's a very popular name, and that's the guy that we've talked about a lot. And then the DTs, are we talking McDonald out of Ohio State, Caden McDonald, Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech, and are we throwing Banks in there out of Florida because of the injury? Are those the 3 DTs we're looking at?
I would throw Banks in there because of the injury from Florida. I would put Peter Woods in the conversation from Clemson after the weird 2025 and start to 2026 he's had, where it's like, okay, he wasn't really good at Clemson last year. He didn't want to run or do any of the drills in the offseason. And you're kind of scratching your head as like, well, this guy was supposed to be like a fast riser, and all of a sudden the offseason's not been really kind to him. And then Christian Miller, he's probably a little bit lower than all these guys we just mentioned, but Christian Miller from Georgia, and that's more probably 38 than 28, but there should be some defensive tackle help there at 28.
Yeah, and I think the one thing is D'Amico's going to have a strong opinion about the DTs. Like, there's nothing that he doesn't come across about a player any more insightful than DTs who've been in the draft the last couple of years. You can tell he puts a lot of thought into it, especially with being a defensive guy and being someone who specializes in that area.
Swarm.
Manbeast25 says, how would you feel if Demo had a Carlos Hyde type season? If he rushes for 1,000 yards, that'd be fantastic. I actually put the line a little bit lower. I put it at Devin's. The line I put yesterday in my video was 2023 Devin Singletary, 2024 Joe Mixon. Hyde is right there. Like that is Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde had the 1,000 yards, set the tone, and hopefully Woody Marks is a better complementary piece than I think Duke Johnson was that year. So it kind of lowers it. There's no set production, but yeah, if he gives you what Carlos Hyde gave you in 18, solid.
Yeah, if he's rushing for, I think it was 1070 was what Hyde had, that'd be a career high for David Montgomery. His career high was 1070 in 2020. If he rattled off 1070 for the Texans with a handful of touchdowns, you're well on your way to having a productive rushing attack, it would seem, because they did not have a guy that could rush for 1,070 yards last year. Not even close.
They did not. And we don't know whether they need an RB1 or not, if they need that ace. But your backyard needs that ace. And I can promise you that 100%. You look in that backyard, you're like, man, there is so much potential here. The weather's getting nicer. You want to watch TV outside. You might want a hot tub. You might want a pool. You might anything you want in your backyard. Fence looks beat up. And you see all these people enjoying their backyards. You're jealous of them because you don't know where to start. But Ace Outdoor Solutions has got you covered, and they can put your vision to practice.
Yeah, and it's your vision too. You're not pointing at a catalog and saying, I want that. No, you're describing what you want. You're creating it. It's custom pools, custom patio covers, custom outdoor kitchen. Maybe you already have an awesome smoker or grill that you like. What if you built an outdoor kitchen around that in your backyard? Zach can do that for you with Ace Outdoor Solutions. He's been doing it for a decade. He's fantastic. He's a Texans fan just like you. So call him up, get a free quote on your backyard, talk a little football with him, and start getting ready to be the backyard in your neighborhood with Ace Outdoor Solutions coming through and customizing your backyard exactly how you want it. All the information you need in the description down below, and you can call Zach today for a free quote on your backyard.
There you go. Shout out to Big Zach out there at Ace Outdoor Solutions. So let's talk about the state of this offensive line right now, the current state of the O-line. They got bodies, but do they have
Would you like to see all the bodies?
I would love to see the bodies.
Okay, context or phrasing. Here we go. This is what the O-line looks like right now. I didn't put the numbers for Brown or Smith because obviously those can change, but we know Ursery's the left tackle. We know Ingram is the right guard. Right now, I don't see a real competitor for Andrews unless Brown is that guy. So I have him as the starting center. I put Brown at left guard. I put Smith at right tackle. Big Trent's over there backing him up. City So's the right guard backup. And then you got a couple of just young guys down here that you don't have any faith in.
Yeah, they definitely need some interior help. You got to figure out. I don't know if Blake Fisher's going to be here. And then who knows what happens with City. So the one thing that I think is kind of a little bit of a mistake that's being made is it feels like it's just being assumed that Braden Smith is going to be the starting right tackle. I think that's I'm not saying that it's impossible by any stretch of the imagination that he's better than Trent Brown. But I just think if anyone thinks, based on what Trent Brown did last year, based on the faith that they showed in him, based on how they feel about him and their history with him, that a healthy Trent Brown is going to go out there and just automatically be stuck with the second team the whole time, I think people are making a very big mistake in making that assumption. Now, obviously, he's not going to last the whole season. Obviously, it's not crazy to think that Smith beats him, but I do think there is some sort of competition there for that spot.
Yeah, I just went with the investment, and I just think Smith's a better player at this point. That's why I put him there.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assumption. I just don't think I think there is a competition there, and that is going to happen. I also think they don't care about investment. They don't give a fuck. Like that's the other thing about this team that they've kind of shown. They don't care what the investment is. There's some organizations that do. The Texans do not care about what the investment is. They've shown that, especially on the offensive line. Like on the offensive line, they do not care about the investment. Cam Robinson, get your ass out of here. Juice Scruggs, second round pick. We don't care about you. We would rather we would rather play Jared Patterson. We'd really rather play anyone than you, including City. So like they do not care about investment on the offensive line.
I thought maybe, the years would be the thing. It's like you got 2 years. I understand it could easily be a 1 year, $14 million deal, just like Cam Robinson. If Smith doesn't work out, I'll say this: if Smith doesn't work out to the point where he's a starter, big swing and a miss on the evaluation, you probably should have spent the money on left guard.
Or you just have an insurance policy. I'm with you. Look, I don't think it's a bad bet to make. I just think Big Trent's going to get a chance with this team to at the very least compete. Whether he can or not, TBD.
I saw the picture they tweeted out of him signing his extension on the Texans Twitter account. I think he's lost some weight.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I think he's lost a few pounds.
Which would mean
maybe in better shape.
Oh, okay.
Because he's remember he had the knee injury last offseason, so he was. I mean, there was probably no level of working out close to a normal level. And if he's lost a few pounds, and the expectation I would have is that Trent Brown's even a little bit better than he was last year because he's going to have a real offseason. He's not coming off a major knee injury.
Fact. Kyle Nance, are you talking about Trent?
I'm talking about Trent. I'm not talking about Evan Brown.
I thought you were talking about Smith. He was talking about Braden Smith for a minute.
They tweeted out the other day a picture of Trent Brown signing his extension.
Yes, okay. Yeah.
He looks like he has lost weight.
Okay, yeah, because I saw a picture of Smith too. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he goes up and down. He goes up and down, seesaw.
Right, and I don't think I'm not. Obviously, my math skills aren't great. We saw that at the beginning, but using a little logic here, no knee injury, real offseason, should be better coming in to start the season than he was a year ago.
Fact.
Swarm.
And they gave him twice the investment that they did last year. So,
yep.
Kyle Nance says Pregnon gone by 28 a la Booker last year. Different prospects. There was never a doubt that Booker was going first round. He was also by far the best guard. So I think Ioane, say it again.
Ioane
out of Penn State is kind of the comparison there. He also went 12.
Ioane is the booker this year.
Yeah,
Ioane is the booker. I don't see any scenario Ioane is available after 14. Baltimore absolutely needs offensive linemen. Baltimore got their pick back because they screwed around with the Max Crosby thing. I don't see any scenario where Ioane isn't gone by 14.
You never know.
It just feels like the perfect player team fit type thing. That's the Penn State guard. Then you got to think, okay, how many teams after really need a guard? And you're kind of, playing the hope game. Just a quick peek. It feels like there's quite a few teams that don't need a guard. So Pregnon starts to slip a little bit. By the way, if you feel like you have to have Pregnon, you've got extra draft capital, go get him. Go move around for him.
Will Royboy says, what positions do you think Houston will focus on day 3? I mean, I think it depends what happens the first 2 days. I'm not trying to cop out. I think that's probably maybe a running back. That it will really depend on what they do the first 2.
I would say linebacker for sure if they haven't drafted one by then, just to get a potential the next Henry maybe, because they spent a 5th on Henry a couple of years ago and it ended up working out for them. So I'd say a linebacker if they haven't grabbed one by then. But as you've seen in the mock draft exercises, once you get to that day 3, you can double up on positions. You can take a swing. You can get a little risky.
They drafted a QB last year on day 3.
Yeah, that was dumb.
But they did.
It was dumb.
That's all I'm saying is they did.
Yeah. So I think that doubling up on positions you've already got, or running back's a really good one. It's tougher to see day 3 without seeing what happens day 1 and 2, obviously. But if they didn't draft a linebacker with those first few picks, I would definitely think a linebacker being in the conversation.
And I want 2 tight ends, so I would like a tight end on that day too. It's a deep pool. Just dip in, get a couple. Dominic Castillo says, Spank Boys this Friday. Not this Friday, next. Next Friday will be full draft mode. We got you.
Not next Friday. Is it next Friday?
You're on a roll today.
Oh yeah, next Friday.
You are on a roll today with the correction. Yes, next Friday, my friend.
You always say Fridays. You always say like 2 Fridays from now. You always say stupid shit. So I just assume
2 Fridays from now would have been right too.
Shut up.
Cody's on a roll today. Get that butter on a roll today.
Can we just say dates from now on? The 27th.
Next Friday.
No, don't worry about next or this or that. 27th. When the calendar has a 2 and a 7, we'll see you at Spanky's.
Next Friday.
Swarm.
That Fort Worth guy says Landry pronounced Ione like it's the start of the Lion King movie.
On the way. How about
Ione. Ioane. Yo want a sandwich? You want a sandwich?
Yo want a top guard in the draft? Draft him. I still have my pronunciation chart from the combine over here, so I've been studying up on some of these harder to say names. I don't know why they thought Pregnon needed pronunciation help, but okay.
I don't know. You never know. My daughter's clowning me now too. Did you already use the question?
Yeah, so Ioane, Penn State, Pregnon, Oregon. Those are your top 2 guards.
Yeah.
You hope one of them slips to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. That's gonna be interesting. I've been really high on I'm starting to develop like an unstable draft crush. We'll talk about it in a sec. You can read between the lines of where we're going. But the Dalton Schultz up and down trend, which direction does this go? We've seen good Schultz, bad Schultz. Last year we saw good Schultz. Does the pattern continue with Dalton Schultz?
I don't see really any scenario where Dalton Schultz is replicating last year. And if he is, something went really wrong with the offense. Because I don't believe that Nick Caley and the entire offensive staff and CJ Stroud and everybody, I don't believe they all got together in, June and July and August and were like, you know what, Dalton, we got to get him the rock. We got to get him the ball a bunch. And he just ended up with the football in large part because Christian Kirk was ineffective in the slot. And there were some growing pains with the young guys. And it took them some while to catch up. I would hope with second-year Jaden Higgins, second-year Jalen Noel, Nico Collins, throwing the football hopefully to the running back position because you've got two guys that can catch the football out of the backfield. I would hope Dalton Schultz's numbers are down because other guys are getting the ball, not because they go to him and he's not ready to make the play or he can't make the play, which felt a lot like 2024. There's a lot of stuff bad about his game in 2024. A lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I think you need to give him some help, which is why tight end is kind of a money spot in this draft. I think they want to run multiple tight end sets. I think you need a couple to be able to do that so you can complement Dalton Schultz. So the Eli Stowers thing is obvious. I can understand if they don't feel that he fits. I get it. But I'm starting to have like an unhealthy amount of fascination with Sam Roush out of Stanford, especially the more that you hear and stuff. And we took him in the mock draft. And I think the mock draft machines kind of have him kind of like as like a clear day 3 guy. I don't think that. I think he's 100% going day 2. And I 100% could see him being a guy that sneaks into the second round in this world of 2 tight end sets. I could 100% see it. And I haven't really seen much of a case against to talk me out of it. And as a matter of fact, if you laid out and you had a discussion, I think about tight end 2, I think his name is probably frequently used by people who study this more than us. So the Sam Roush thing, I think, is interesting. It's fascinating. I think he's going to be that guy that you look at and you say, holy crap, he went that early. I didn't see that coming, but I think you should start seeing it coming because every way that you measure a player, it just seems like he checks every box. And it's not like we're talking about some chicken crap tight end group. This is a tight end group that's really, really good. And the more that you look at it, even if you're getting excited about the position as a whole, the more that I think Sam Roush is just kind of a guy that's just going to soar up.
You just look at the tight end position over, let's just call it the past 3 drafts, really. There have been lots of round 2 and round 3 tight ends that are around where Roush is viewed or maybe a little bit better. And I feel like he's better than some of these guys. He's better than a couple of guys that went on day 2 in 2024 and Ben Sinnott and Tip Reedman. He's better than both those guys from a just a draft hype standpoint, like an actual football player standpoint. And you saw 3 tight ends going within 15 picks of each other last year in the second round. Mason Taylor, Terrence Ferguson, Elijah Arroyo, and a couple hours later, Harold Fanning goes. So I don't see with an ability to block like an NFL tight end day 1 with Sam Roush, with athletic upside and production from an offense that doesn't have good production in college at Stanford. They don't do anything good. I don't see how he gets to day 3. So if you want him, you have to use a day 2 selection on him.
I think there's a couple of things about this kid. First of all, I think he kind of has the blowhard factor that the Texans like. They like these over-romanticized types of things. He was in a pro style with Frank Reich, so he's kind of familiar with that. He's one of 6 guys who did all the drills at the combine, which Dane Brugler brought up. One of 6. There's only one of 6. They like crap like that. Trust me. He's a computer science major. He has 2 uncles and relatives who played in the NFL. I feel like they like 2 uncles and a grandpa who played in the NFL. You look at the physical traits. He's in the 95th percentile on his vertical. He's in the 94th percentile on the broad jump. He's in the 86th percentile on the bench press. Oh, by the way, he's 6'6", 267. He ran a 4.7, which some will say is not fast. Dalton Schultz ran a 4.76 at the combine, if I'm not mistaken. So he's faster than Dalton Schultz. And the production, while it doesn't look fantastic, 119 catches with 117 of them being in the last 3 is not terrible, especially when you factor in that Stanford has been an absolute abysmal shit show the last 3 years because nobody got screwed more than NIL than Stanford. Nobody got screwed more by that. And it was just this recent year where Andrew Luck made the investment, who kind of took him under his wing as well. So I think even the production is fine. I don't think the product, like, so you hear 119 catches and you say, that's okay. Well, that's more than Travis Kelce and George Kittle had in their college career combined. They had 107. So that's even less than that. Gronk had 75 catches in 2 years. Schultz only had 55 catches his entire career at Stanford. So 119 is really not that bad, production wise. Like, by comparison, the 3 guys that you would consider probably the best receiving tight ends, Laporta had 153, McBride had 164, and Bowers had 175. 119 is not like crazy production. And he's also willing to block. So I'm a big Sam Roush guy. I think these mock draft machines, when we do them, they have him ranked in like the 5th or 6th round. I'm practicing it as if when he's going to go, not when they have him going, because I think it's going to be much earlier. I really do. I'm crushing for Sam Roush. I'll just be honest.
He's a top 100 player.
Yeah.
I mean, top 100 player. He had again. Think about the situation. Think about the situation he's in at Stanford. How crappy they are. He had about 200 less receiving yards than Eli Stowers this past season. And Stowers was the go-to guy at Vanderbilt. It's really not that crazy.
Yeah, I think he's pretty good. So, yeah, I think he's going to be a good player. I think they're going to like him, and I think it's going to be early.
Swarm.
Nomad Scott says, all this time I've been going to Spanky's on this Friday when y'all don't show up until next Friday. Cody doesn't understand.
27th. Just, we don't do next, this, that, anything.
Friday.
We do dates. 27th, March 27th.
Next Friday, the 27th. We're there.
March 27th.
There we go. We'll see you. We'll see you then. Let's talk about the Cyclones. So they have a few Iowa State guys, if you haven't heard. They have obviously David Montgomery, and they have 3 receivers in Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll, and Xavier Hutchinson. Let's lay out like the roles of what we expect from the Cyclones on offense, because I think it's gonna play a big hand in the effectiveness of this offense and what exactly they are or are not able to do. We've talked about David Montgomery. I think we can both kind of compromise maybe on although you disagree with everything. You argued with me earlier that it wasn't Monday. Do you think that the Singletary Mixon line is fair?
Yeah, we agreed on that the other day. Over 900, less than 1,000. If he does that, it's probably a pretty good season from him.
All right, so we'll take that. What about Jaden Higgins? What are the expectations for Jaden Higgins? Because there's a little bit of hype when it comes to Jaden Higgins. There is some promise at this point. With the departure of Captain Kirk, he is now clearly heading into the season your number 2 guy. What are the expectations for Jaden Higgins, and what do you believe that Jaden Higgins can do?
He's got to be a very productive piece of this team. And that's probably, if Higgins doesn't develop and doesn't become a productive player, even more productive than he was last year, that's probably one of my worry parts about this offense. Now, I believe in him because it felt like he started to figure some things out towards the back end of the season. And this feels like the type of receiver. And I can remember in the conversations about drafting him, it's like, yeah, he could help you a little bit in the first year, but then once he really figures it out, he's going to be able to help you more. Like, I have high expectations for him. I'm not sitting here asking or predicting that he needs to get to 1,000 yards, but he needs to be a consistent go-to guy that the quarterback can trust. And you got to be able to use him and get him the ball more than you did last year. A little bit closer to the back end of the season usage, a lot less of the early season. And the early season shouldn't even be a conversation point because he should have grown as a player and been a much better player. So, 800 yards, something like that. And a few more touchdowns than he had last year, I'd be pretty happy with that season out of Jaden Higgins.
Yeah, I think it's right there around the 850. I think like a Tank Dell production from a couple years ago, like when you factor it into an entire season, I think there's that, and I think he needs to be. I think the most important thing for Higgins is he needs to establish himself as a legit, and he kind of did at times last year, but he needs to establish himself as a legit red zone threat that CJ Stroud can get on the same page with consistently. That's what they need. They need better red zone offense. CJ Stroud needs to throw in more catchable balls, and he needs to use his skills and continue to progress. I got a feeling he's going to be physically much more a much larger human being when he comes back, Higgins. And they already bragged about Noel being in that weight room.
No, of course.
Yeah, we've already heard about Noel, which brings us to Noel.
Well, just real quick about Higgins too. Like once the win streak started, like as the win streak got, and I understand, there was some focus on Nico, this and that. Like he was getting less than 3 targets a game. In the win streak, he got bumped up to about 5 targets a game, and he's a much more productive player. It's you got to give him a little bit more volume, and I'm excited to give him some more volume in 2026 and see what happens.
Yeah, and then there's someone who definitely needs more volume, and that's Jalen Noel. I am a big Jalen Noel fan. I think Jalen Noel is the ultimate X factor. It seems like there's a notion that the rookies, not just Noel, but also Higgins, weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. And it impacted Noel more so than it did Higgins. You also had Christian Kirk in the way, which is not a thing anymore. I think Jalen Noel is going to be a big factor on this team. I think he's going to provide you with an explosive threat. And I think we see him consistently throughout the season to the point where I think the leap could be massive from year 1 to year 2 for him.
There's nobody in his way, and it's sink or swim time for him because there's not a player in his way. There's no veteran on this team that plays the slot that's going to get snaps over him and go in there and make it happen from day one of the offseason program or training camp or whatever, however you want to phrase it, because he should get this opportunity. And I'm excited to see what he does with this opportunity because Kirk was stuck in front of him. It seems like they trusted Kirk to do some of the small things. Cool. Well, Kirk couldn't get open and Kirk couldn't make plays. So I'm excited to see Jalen Noel in 2026 get open and make plays.
Yeah, there's always like it feels like over the course of recent Texans history, there's always like a guy on the team that you're like, man, they need to get that guy more involved. And sometimes you end up with a Will Fuller with Deshaun Watson, which is just like, yeah, see, told you, like they needed to get him more involved. And then other times it's like, oh, well, Kiki QT sucked after all, and Tyler Ervin sucked after all. So there is always kind of like that balance of like being the guy that you say, well, he needs to play more. And then sometimes the coaches end up looking right, and sometimes the coaches end up looking wrong. I do think that we're talking floors and ceilings. I do think that the ceiling is closer to like the Will Fuller, although it won't be that magical because that was a magical run by Will Fuller. My God. But I think it's closer to that than it is like the Kiki QT, Tyler Ervin type of vibe.
Yeah. If he turns out to be that level of player, then total whiff of a draft pick.
Yes, that is a fact. No doubt. Back to the chat.
Oh, we're not doing a Hutch. We're not breaking down where Hutchinson fits.
We'll get to Hutch in a sec.
Okay.
Swarm.
Kyle Nance, visit with Roush.
It was an informal at the combine, and then he was at the Senior Bowl too.
So yeah, they're very familiar with that. Travel food with Malik says Landry, I guarantee you they won't be getting 2 tight ends. Well, that solves it. There you go. I'm saying they should. I'm not like calling a shot. I'm saying they should. But there goes that.
What did we did in the mock draft the other day? We had Roush and then Cozy late, so we had the blocker and the pass catcher. So
yeah,
there's
good. But yeah,
I think I saw you tweet about today. I tweeted about it today. Dane Brugler talking about how he expects this to be one of the classes that has the most tight ends drafted, and he's got a bunch of draftable tight ends more so than previous years. And He thinks there's going to be useful tight ends in the late rounds and even as undrafted free agents. So it's not again, once you get to day 3, especially if things have fallen your way in the first 2 days, you could double up at positions and you could add guys and take risks and take swings that have low impact if they don't pay off.
What about Xavier Hutchinson? Gotten better every year. It's kind of Henry To'oTo'o-ish in that same draft class. And he has gotten better every year. Last year was by far his best year. The expectation for Xavier Hutchinson, solid WR4. Is that where we're at?
If he puts together his season that he had last year as the 4th wide receiver in 2026, that's a pretty good year for the 4th wide receiver. He had 428 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 35 catches. That's a pretty good year for your 4th wide receiver. If that's what happens. Now, obviously that would come with Nico, Jaden, and Jalen Noel outperforming him. That's what you certainly hope to see. I would be very surprised if he's not on this football team and, not helping out in special teams and in there on some of those moments where they don't want to put Higgins or don't want to put Collins out there. Maybe we stop telegraphing exactly, what we're doing when certain guys are on the field. But yeah, I think he's going to be on the team. And if he's the 4th wide receiver, he's done a good job of carving out his role.
Yeah, I think the biggest test that he passed was he held it down a lot better when Collins was out, because that's going to happen. Nico Collins is going to miss games. Unless if it doesn't, then it's much more of a rarity than it does, especially in Hutchinson's tenure. I don't know how many games Nico's missed. I think it's probably close to 10, maybe somewhere close. And 2 years ago, he damn sure wasn't ready. The year before last, he damn sure wasn't ready. And then last year, he actually did a decent job filling in when Nico was back. He's definitely not Nico, but very few guys are. So I thought that was a good test for him, for sure. There's no doubt about that. I think he's a good player. I think they like him, and yeah.
I don't want him to ever have a 13 target game ever again, like he did against the Patriots. So
no, that's not something you want.
Hopefully that never happens again for Xavier Hutchinson.
Yeah, that's definitely not something you want. There's no doubt about that. That's a no for all parties involved. But it does rest on the Iowa State guys. If you had to list the importance, I think we kind of listed it, right? I think it naturally was in order.
Montgomery, Higgins.
You can make a case that Higgins is more important than Montgomery because you're WR2 and you have Woody Marks with the committee. You can make the case, I think, but I think we have it close-ish when it comes to importance.
I would think an underperforming Montgomery doesn't hurt you as much as maybe an underperforming Higgins would. So if you want to switch Higgins and Montgomery or you want it to be Montgomery Higgins at the top, I'm not going to have a strong argument either way.
James says he thinks that it could be Hutchinson versus Tank on the roster. I would say no. I think Hutchinson's safe on the roster. Tank's competing with whoever after that, but I think Hutch, he plays special teams. He fills in for Nico on the outside. So no, I don't think those two are competing at all. Tank's on the back of the depth chart right now, and we'll see what he looks like. I think it's you gotta lower the expectations for him just out of respect of everything he's been through. We don't have to rehash this too much, but
I would say I feel pretty confident that 4 of 6 wide receiver spots are spoken for.
Yes, and Tank Dell is not one of those spots until we see what it looks like and how he holds up and everything like that.
Right, and there's not a tremendous amount of competition if they're going to keep 6. Tank's not fighting the toughest fight in the world to be the 6th wide receiver, but I can't tell you for sure Justin Watson's going to be on this football team, and I don't
know how he fits. And I could even see them day 3 taking
a wide receiver
if they just
feel
the desire. I mean, because we talk about special teams and stuff. Watson and Hutchinson are 2 wide receivers who play special teams, and they're both in the last year of their deal. So if you do want to kick the tires there, then that's that. But I like expecting Tank Dell to be what he was his rookie year. You saw that for like one quarter against the Chiefs, and he had like 4 knee injuries since then. Before that, you hadn't really seen it. So I think it's actually kind of disrespectful to him to expect that. No one's rooting against it, but I think it's disrespectful to the human body. And a guy who's had 2 season-ending injuries in 2 years to expect that. But if I see Tank Dell play a preseason game, that's great. It'll be awesome. But yeah, we'll see whether he makes it or not. But I think he is going to have to compete to make the squad, especially given the fact he doesn't play special teams. So
yeah, and if you're relying on him and betting on him, it's not fair to him, and it's not a good approach by you.
Yeah, it's weird to say you're going to see what you saw rookie season. That'd be insane. Like you would have to get, you probably should give the medical staff $5 million raises and give Tank Dell comeback player of the year for life. They should rename it the Tank Dell player of the year award if he's able to come back and be what he was his rookie season, which he wasn't even really in year 2 for most of it. So that would be really impressive from he.
Correct.
There you go.
I liked how we weren't going to rehash it, but we rehashed it anyway.
I mean, it just comes up.
There's new people all the time. They got to know.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on in the chat right now. They're arguing about Jamarcus Russell. That's a timeout. Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk has arrived. I repeat, Captain Kirk has arrived.
And he has now left. Captain Kirk, Christian Kirk, signs a $6 million deal with the San Francisco 49ers to be their slot receiver.
Well, it's rough over there in San Fran. They have not had a fun offseason. In the 40, I saw people get excited about this, and I'm just sitting there like, why?
I'll tell you why. Because, and this is, I actually understand it. People in San Francisco are not watching Texans games unless they're on Monday night or unless they're in the playoffs. And if you watch that playoff game, and that was the only Texans game that you watched as a 49ers fan, if you watched the wild card round, when the Texans were the only game on, you probably think he's freaking awesome and he still has a little something left.
Yeah, I guess, but I would take one look at I'd take one look at just anything that he did last year and just be like, yeah, okay, there ain't much left here.
Let's pour one out for Christian Kirk. What a wild ride that was, though. I mean,
he was awesome, like in training camp.
No,
we watched every single training camp practice. He was awesome in training camp, and none of that translated to the regular season.
He had the weirdest season that I can remember because they took the Mixon approach with him, where they traded a late round pick so that he couldn't get on the market before the team could release him. They brought him in. He looked phenomenal in training camp. Then all of a sudden, he misses the first 2 games of the season. And you're like, what happened? So he misses the first 2 games of the season. Then he comes back. Then they do like some kind of, it was almost cruel. It was really one of the times where Nick Caley really, really took a deep shot against Baltimore when they're beating the depleted Baltimore Ravens ass. They throw a deep ball to Christian Kirk. He gets tackled inside the 5. You don't really think much of it. You think maybe this is going to get him going. You go through the bye week, and then he misses the first 2 games after the bye week. So he missed 4+ games. 2 were at the start of the season. 2 were after the bye week. He was a negative I would say non-factor. That's an insult to a non-factor. He was a non-factor and someone that was considered to be in the way of previously mentioned Jalen Knoll. And then all of a sudden he comes out in the playoffs and he has a franchise record 144 yards and he completely flips the switch. It was a crazy season for Christian Kirk.
It was a very weird season, and it felt like that Pittsburgh game was like the last breath of like a career that was finishing up. Have you ever heard of the Wall Street term dead cat bounce?
Have not.
It's like right before a company totally fails. They rebound really quick, and then they just fail again. That was Christian Kirk's playoffs. Like, the 49ers run him out there. Maybe Kyle Shanahan's football rehab facility, will help him, but, their football rehab camp for aging wide receivers will help him, but there should be no expectations of success in San Francisco.
No, they got an interesting. They're in an interesting spot when it comes to Christian Kirk and really a wide receiver position as a whole. They took Mike Evans as well. So,
and the 49ers have that weird injury thing where everybody gets hurt, and now he's a hurt guy.
Yeah, at the plant.
Swarm.
Kyle Nance says he's Swarm. Fits right in. Soundbite? ?
That would be definitely Swarm.
Yeah, he's definitely Swarm.
Definitely Swarm.
Right in.
We'll see what we can see what we can do with that.
He fits right in. He's definitely 100% Swarm.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do. We'll get that for tomorrow.
All right, so we got the draft coming up in about a month. What is day one? Day one is the 23rd. So yeah, oh God, a month and a week away from the draft.
It is getting closer, 38 days away.
And we really haven't heard much about visits or anything, which who cares really in the big scheme of things. Sometimes it's cool. But we haven't. I feel like the visit game has been a little bit quiet.
I can't wait to hear some overdrafted player that they fell in love with at the visit. It's happened multiple times.
Yeah, the A&M Pro Day.
Well, last year it was Jalen Smith, and D'Amico says, "Well, it feels like you're already a member of the Texans." Okay, and they drafted him in the 3rd round, traded up for him.
Yeah, and
then Will Anderson, his visit, it's like they fell in love. They realized they had to get him and CJ.
I mean, that's an easy love, though. That's an easy love, and have the resources to do it.
Sure.
With the Will Anderson, which that extension, it seems like a lot of the insiders are hinting that happens relatively soon, but who knows? I think they're all.
It's a pretty easy negotiating. It's pretty easy to negotiate from, I would think, Will Anderson's side, where you just say, yeah, $47 million a year. And the Texans are like, well, what about, and then you're just like, nah, $47 million average annual value.
Nah, that's a terrible reenactment. That's not how that works. Come on.
Oh, Caserio gives them 50.
Exactly. $47 million, we'll take it. Casario's like, you got yourself a deal, 50 a year.
I will say, I will be floored if Will Anderson is not the most expensive defensive player in football by average annual value. I'll be shocked.
No, he can't accept anything less at this point. I mean, you were second in DPOY. You're also who they're going to the table with you before the quarterback. So that kind of increases like the importance of it. And I've wondered though about it is there like a ceremonial passing of the torch when this happens? Like, does anything happen different? Like, is it just business as usual, or do we all suddenly look at this team different? And you might roll your eyes, but my basis on this, and I've talked about this in the locker room. By the way, join us on the Collective. We're going to be on the Collective in an hour and 4 minutes. Sean Pendergast back, Reginald. I'm kind of really excited to hear what Sean has to say about free agency as well. But like anytime that you give someone that kind of money, you always hear the term hand him the keys to the franchise, because usually it's a quarterback. Like I remember the Deshaun, like the Justin Verlander and like the whole school and like all that big production. Is there any change or feel or way that you look at things once Will Anderson's got in the bag and CJ? And that's the other part is this isn't like Max Crosby with the Raiders where who the fuck's at quarterback? Who knows? This is like the guy that was drafted after the quarterback, which we all thought was going to be the guy that we were talking about at this point, it's got to feel we're going to have some sort of thoughts and feels when this happens.
My feels will be primarily about the fact that CJ's not getting paid and not so much about that Will's getting paid. It's really, to me, it's a waiting game to see how much more he gets than Micah Parsons in average annual value. And then it immediately is spotlight on CJ because he's not getting paid and he's not getting a new contract. And they're just going to pick up his 5th-year option and he's going to have to play it out here in 2026. And maybe a year from now, if he's awesome, he gets the big contract.
I had a weird dream last night and it was really random, but I dreamed that we were going to practice and it was like before the season started.
We in here talking about practice.
And they were opening the season. I think they opened against the Cowboys. But we were going to practice and all of a sudden you got an alert on your phone and you were like, oh my God, can you believe this? They just named the captains. And I'm like, who gives a shit about them naming the captains? And you go, CJ's not a captain. And he started like listing the captains and like CJ Stroud didn't get named a captain. And it was like the biggest news.
What a
He's going to be a captain though. He's going to be a captain.
But
it's a weird dream.
You got to get a dream catcher or something. That's what you're dreaming about. You got to get a dream catcher or like a new pillow or something.
And then I woke up and my dog was just snoring right on my shoulder, like drooling on me. That's a hell of a party right there.
Oh, man.
Swarm.
Rich Boy J says, Will going to be the highest paid defensive player for a day until Daniil signs another extension with us.
Rich Boy is climbing the chat comedy rankings because he said earlier, I don't want Peter Woods because both of his names sound like a male member.
Well, it would continue the tradition of Chubb and Woody. They got to have the innuendo there.
Yeah, there'd be some defensive innuendo for him.
Yeah, he's on there. Him and Patrick Ding. I don't know who the opening act is and who the closing act is, but him and Ding on the chat got that going. So there we go. Draft time, most wonderful time. Nothing else really going on around the NFL. I don't think we haven't had anything crazy happen. I've seen that there's some people upset about the old Oiler uniforms with the Titans. I've seen there's like a little bit of that on my TL. I know one of your favorite topics.
The old give a shit meter's broken on that one.
Yeah, it was fun while it lasted. I actually think when you look back at it, never mind. Beta Aaron says 6 is 18.75% of 32. Yeah, I said nearly 20% of the teams in the league. Cody took exception with me saying that guy who played for 6 to 32 was
not 20.
Nearly 20%. Also next Friday, not next Friday. So yeah.
Okay. We're just gonna pretend like you never say stupid shit.
Oh, that happens all the time, my friend. That's why I gotta do my victory laps when the shoe's on the other foot. No, but I was gonna say, I think when you look back at like the Texans uniform unveiling, I think it was kind of disingenuous of a process where they knew that they weren't allowed to wear that color, but they kept like teasing the fan base as if that was a possibility when they knew that. And I don't think too many people care as much anymore. I think it's just it's low level, low hanging fruit pandering at this point. And I'm actually glad that they're just going to wear them permanently now, so you can put it to rest. But I do think in the uniform process, I think the Texans kind of fucked with their fans a little bit, where they acted like they could do something that they knew the answer to. I really do. And we were right there with the process, but I think that kind of was the only thing that kept some fuel on it.
And I would say one more thing too. Like, you see why the Titans fought so hard to keep the Texans from having a primarily H-Town blue jersey when they're going to debut these.
Yeah.
You know,
It'll be interesting. They look solid. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to check out. They're badass uniforms. Let's just be honest about it. But there's nothing to really fight about now. Like, it's like it's their permanent uniform. It's not a throwback. It's their permanent uniform. So yeah. I think real recognize real. Those are nice unis.
Yeah, they look nice.
There you go. Right.
I think their new logo sucks, but they look nice. Couple of things here. Just just fun with numbers here at the end. We're 38 days away. The Texans have the 38th overall pick right now as we talk about it. The last two players selected at 38th overall, Travion Henderson
okay,
and Tavondre Sweat. Okay. A couple of other names you'll recognize that were 38th overall picks. Manti Te'o, TJ Ward, Flozell Adams.
he was good.
He was very good. Boomer Esiason and Mike Singletary.
Wow.
How about that? 38th had some pretty good picks. And a guy drafted in 1939 named Dick Todd
Never heard of him.
from Texas A&M.
Yeah, those are some good picks. If you could pick any of those guys, who would you take?
Ooh.
Go through the list.
I mean, you probably should. Well,
Nah, there's a right answer to this, brother. This is a very easy answer. Very easy.
it's got to be Mike Singletary, right?
No. God. I would say maybe, but Flozo Adams was a really solid offensive lineman for a lot of years.
Well, the thought that I had was
Singletary replaces Aziz, and then you got to go there.
my thought was, could Boomer Esiason be better than CJ Stroud?
The answer is yes, he could be.
Boomer won the MVP one year.
Okay. Yeah, Flozo Adams, so he made 5 Pro Bowls. He was an All-Pro. And he played for 12 seasons. He was deaf in one ear. That's why he got so many false starts.
It still didn't get as many as Laramie.
All right, so you got to think about this. Do you want the tackle in Flozo Adams to pair with Ariante Ursary? Do you want the Hall of Fame linebacker to pair with D'Amico Ryans and Mike Singletary? Or do you want the quarterback in Boomer Esiason? I'll take Boomer. It's a quarterback on a rookie deal. Will Anderson, you're getting paid, and all of a sudden the Texans got cap space. Bye-bye. I'll take Boomer. I'll take Boomer Esiason.
Boomer was a Pro Bowler his second year starting. He threw 27 touchdowns his first full year starting.
All right, I'll take Boomer.
Yes, I think Boomer's I think we found an exercise for the end of the show till the draft gets here. Mike Singletary's, throwing him in the middle of this defense is freaking crazy.
I think as far as the reason why I go with the quarterback is because from a team building perspective, you're going to have a quarterback on a dirt cheap rookie deal. He's going to be on a second round deal. Yeah. So your quarterback for the next 4 years while you're building this team, you're going to keep everybody. Lassiter, you're staying. Bullock, you're staying. Everybody's staying. Everybody's staying now. And you get Boomer Esiason, second year Pro Bowler. And you can trade CJ and get more draft picks.
And when Boomer's done, he can take over at SNL for us.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. So you got to take Boomer. We need to ask this question to Sean and Reggie today on the collective. I'm very intrigued. This is right up Sean's alley. He might He might not be able to stand up if you ask him this question. Mark that for the Texans collective.
I will have that ready.
Yes, we will. We appreciate y'all for rolling through.
I'm going to go learn how if Dick Todd was definitely sworn, though.
Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. Be sure to also know that there may be a new soundbite available tomorrow. And always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good. Be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Boom, boom, boom. Let me hear you say Boomer.